some of the VIPs will be staying. The accommodation really offers a full range of price categories. So the important thing here is to try and register early so you can get your preferred type of accommodation. We've also arranged transportation. We are in the process of appointing some of the transportation service providers. We're looking at various forms of transportation, including chauffeur-driven service, car hire, and then, of course, a scheduled coach transfer that will transport most of the delegates between the Congress venues. As I've mentioned, registration has started. We are putting a system together. We have put a system together which will ensure that the registration process is a smooth experience for all of the delegates. Let me conclude with the volunteer program, which we see as a legacy project contributing to the skills development of both the tourism and event management industries in South Africa. We're looking to integrate a number of students who want to participate in the Congress in the volunteer program, since we recognize that they may not afford the registration fees that has been set. But this is a program that will expose some of our young participants in the petroleum business to a Congress of this nature. And as I've mentioned, we see it as an important legacy project. I will end there. Thank you, President, for indulging me. And we will see you in South Africa, which we sometimes refer to as Mzansi. And with the President's permission, I will take some questions.
Thank you very much. We'll give some extra time for questions, but the time has actually been used, but we have to be a little flexible here. So if there are some urgent, I emphasize urgent questions, those will be entertained. Anybody? Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. The next point on the agenda is called the bid process for the 19th Congress, 2008. There will be 3 presentations in alphabetical order of the 3 host countries, India, Qatar, and Spain. Time for each, 25 minutes. I ask kindly that the respective countries, they adhere strictly to the time admitted. Please include some time for possible questions. The only thing you need to know, all of the other member nations, is that the 3 inviting nations been given the same requirements to adhere to, a memo of understanding to adhere to. They have all listened to the guidance provided by Vice President Bob Goldman earlier today, and to all 3 contenders, we have urged also to pay attention to the questions related to security. In the opinion of the President and Director General, it's very important that all countries address the question of security, simply because this is a very important issue all over the world. Without further delay, I ask then the first country to come forward, namely India, and present their case. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I bring greetings from Delhi. as I go through the presentation, probably about 20 minutes or so, I'll be making a strong case as to why the next WPC should be held in India. The structure of my presentation, as you will notice, will be in broadly these 4 or 5 categories. Basically, what I'm going to try and tell you is that India is a happening place now, especially in the sector of hydrocarbon. There are plenty of things happening which are worthy of notice. Being a developing country in a process of transition, there are a number of lessons which we have learnt along the way, which have some value not only for our other developing country members, but also for a lot of investor countries from the West and from the developed world. I'll be telling you about matters of interest to probably everybody who takes part in WPC. On the policy front, what all that we are doing, the domestic investment front, the massive outlays that we have earmarked from our own nation, and our quest for oil overseas. Many of you may already be aware of all that is happening there, as in the last few years, when the investment climate opened up, a number of companies have already started operating in India with a large degree of success, and many of you may be unaware who might find this informative and also amazing, I feel. After the end of the presentation, there'll be a short video for a couple of minutes on the sights of India, which probably just might warm your hearts. Going ahead, when I talk of looking east, one had heard of the Asian tigers a couple of years back. Now it is a new resurgence which has spread to other parts of Asia, South Asia, China, of course, Korea, one is well aware of. When we look at India, it has the 4th largest GNP. The growth rate in the last 1 decade has consistently been between 6 and 7%. It is anticipated that at this rate of growth, in a couple of years, it will have outstripped a number of other well-developed countries. We are aware it has very strong democratic traditions. We are contending for the Security Council, and New Delhi, a historical city, great culture, it has served as a capital for 7 regimes in the last several thousand years, as I'll just tell you along the way. Coming straight to the oil and gas scenario as it prevails in the country. If you look at our primary energy consumption scene, the growth rate has been 4% in the last 1994 to 2002, and even in the next 25 years, 2001 starting, we anticipate the growth rate is going to be 3.2%. It will be probably the 3rd highest growth rate. This is for the entire basket of primary energy consumption. This reflects energy demand is bound to grow, and along with it, all the concomitant infrastructure, all the facilities, all the investment. On the energy mix of the primary energy, you will notice the contribution of the hydrocarbon sector is going to remain virtually the same. It is 40% at this stage, and in fact is going to grow to 45% in 2025. This has a lot of opportunities for the audience that I'm addressing. Yeah. Amongst the primary energy scene, when we talk specifically of oil, the compounded annual growth rate during this period of 2001-2025 is anticipated to be 4.1%, in fact the highest in the world. a little bit more detail of the domestic nuts and bolts. We are a great producer and we are a great consumer, a greater consumer than what we are producing. Oil production, oil processing. In oil processing, you will notice we are in 119 million tons. That's what we are refining. We are matching, in fact, there's a little bit of a surplus. And new capacity generation in refining is still growing in India. Our new areas of interest are gas and LNG. I'll be coming to the fact that on the eastern coast, the Bay of Bengal has been highly prospective. We had the largest gas find in the world in 2002. And in the adjacent blocks of that find, we continue to hit bigger and big discoveries. When we come to LNG, we started late, all right, but we have 2 terminals already underway, and 4 are being planned in the next 3 years. But as you notice that the import dependence because of stagnant indigenous production continues to rise. We were 48% deficit in 1998 and it's grown to 70% in 2003. This has led to the liberalized regime and our quest overseas. As a result of which, ladies and gentlemen, now we are almost present all over the world. As you will notice, we are already in Russia with ExxonMobil in Sakhalin. In Vietnam, we are there producing gas. Myanmar, we are there with Daewoo. Australia, we have just taken over a small share in an E&P company. In Sudan, we are with Petronas and CNPC. Sri Lanka, we have marketing presence. Libya also, we have talks in exploration projects. So we are partnering most of the world leading oil companies. We are present all over, and there's a bid we have made even in Ecuador, so that will cover South Africa, South America. That is our global scene. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will dwell a little on the policy environment. We feel that India probably is going to show the way to the developing world on the policy issues. As you know, the right policy is the first prerequisite, especially for the private sector. And we have tried to develop policies on every sector of the entire hydrocarbon chain. Our policies provide for level playing field. As you know, India has had a very strong public sector. But in the recent times, private sector from within the country and from abroad, Shell has set up this LNG terminal, the world's largest grassroots refinery, which was implemented a couple of years back by the Reliance Group. That has a major presence in refining. So we have private players coming in, which is a proof to the fact that the policy has been encouraging. As a result of which, we have had commitments of $7.2 billion with US. This is in order that I have mentioned as the largest investor, followed by UK, Belgium, Australia, and France. Now, coming specifically to the sectors, as I mentioned that we have implemented policies. In the upstream, what we call the new exploration licensing policy, though it's not very new now, we have had 4 rounds, and the 5th round is being announced in January 2005. I'll just tell you a little bit more about that. That is for new acreages. The nomination blocks which were given to our national oil company, ONGC, they are also up for participation. And at the same time, we are looking overseas. Continuing the upstream policies, if you look at the NELP 4 rounds, we have signed 90 production sharing agreements with a commitment of $4 billion only in the exploration part of it. As you notice that these terms probably are the best available anywhere in the world. International competitive fiscal regime, contractual fiscal stability, there are no changes during the contract period, You can market anywhere in India at international prices. Cost is fully recoverable. There's a tax break for 7 years. Deep water, there are lower royalty rates and there are special concessions. When you come to refining, it has been totally opened up. There's a match now. In fact, there's a little bit of a surplus, as I mentioned. And with the growing demand, as you saw, the growth rate, 4% plus, new refineries definitely will be set up. And one of our companies is setting up a 14 MMTPA refinery in the coming 2-3 years to go upstream in 2009-10. Pipelines is probably the most exciting sector after E&P. Only 40% of our product moves by pipelines. And we have opened it up. We feel about 10,000 kilometers of pipelines, product pipelines, alone are going to be erected in the next couple of years. Similarly for gas, well, that 10,000 kilometers is for gas. There's a national grid, which, because our finds have been on the east coast, and LNG is going to be probably coming from the west coast. So, and this is only of the internal pipelines that I mentioned. The transnational pipelines, we are in talks with Iran, we are in talks with Myanmar. Latest, there are talks with Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan. So, pipelines is going to be a happening place. When we talk of marketing, which was earlier reserved for our public sector, has now been opened up fully for the private sector. Only in the case of the transportation fuels, there is a rider that you have to invest $500 million in the specified hydrocarbon sector to be able to market MS, HSD, and ATF. And on the other front, other than specific sectors, we need regulators to govern the relations between the public sector, private sector. We are setting up a regulator, separate one for upstream and another one for downstream. We have an LNG terminal policy so that the adjoining infrastructure for evacuation of the LNG is also in place. We have a very liberal foreign direct investment policy. Natural gas pricing policies have also been evolved because we have a very large fertilizer sector which is shifting from naphtha to NG, and fertilizer is subsidized in our country, so natural gas pricings, we are making it very attractive under the NELP. The fines are marketed of the natural gas as well at the market determined prices. Talking specifically of FDI, which may be of interest to investors from abroad, participants of WPC, there's a very liberal foreign direct investment policy. As you can notice, there are some differences for small sizes and for new fields. Refining, as I mentioned, is totally opened up. Marketing and trading, pipeline, natural gas, virtually 100% foreign equity participation. The next chapter would be on the India's E&P scenario. As I mentioned to you that with stagnant domestic production, India needs to concentrate a lot on the E&P sector. We have almost 5% of the world's sedimentary basins, but our production is only 0.5%. So as a result of which, there are a lot of prospects, and no wonders that world-class discoveries are taking place in India. A number of international companies are operating in the E&P sector, and others are waiting in the fold, namely Cairn, Nyco, Gazprom, Conoco, Hardy Exploration, and others. Sedimentary basin, this is a general slide. We have categorized them into 4 parts. The important thing to note is that half of our sediments are in offshore, which calls for new technology, massive investment. Some statistics. And when we talk of area explored, virtually half of the sediments are yet to be covered by petroleum exploration license. And most of it is in the deeps. This is where we are now looking for participation, we are looking for collaboration. But what you will notice that the area in which exploration has been initiated has gone up from 500,000 square kilometers in 95-96 to nearly 1 million square kilometers. I think this is the place where most of the exploration attention, at least in South Asia, is going to take place. Now, as per our assessment, there is a hydrocarbon resource available of 28 to 33 billion metric tons, of which we have only established 7.5. Balance is yet to be explored, yet to be found. The recent discoveries, which has led to excitement in the E&P scenario, have been almost 30. The Reliance's discovery I've already mentioned, and Kane's discovery last year in Rajasthan on land has been very spectacular. This was one area which Shell had quit, and Kane went in and made these great discoveries. And the best part is that these discoveries are being made under the new exploration licensing policy and liberalized regime, which speaks of the prospects and the technology resource which is needed, which foreign investors could bring in. As I mentioned to you, that we have 90 production sharing contracts underway. In just one of these Reliances where gas was found, the development plan is of an order of $2.5 billion. You can imagine, ladies and gentlemen, that even if 10 to 15% of our production sharing contracts strike reserves, the order of investment in India is going to be stupendous. As far as our own national oil company goes, it is running the largest deep water exploratory drilling program by any single operator. Now, to summarize the investment opportunities in all that one has mentioned, as I mentioned to you, 4 LNG terminals are already underway. Refinery upgradation, we are moving up to Euro 4 equivalent. We are planning new refineries. Pipelines, I've already mentioned to you. Storage, we have taken a decision to set up a strategic storage for petroleum products equivalent to 45 days requirement, which is of course going to be again huge. City gas distribution projects. With India's population, you are anyway aware, the city gas projects are going to be numerous. When we talk of our diplomatic initiatives, we are trying to forge closer cooperation between oil and gas producing nations and companies. New Delhi is going to be the first venue of the Asian Oil Buyer-Seller Meet in Jan 2005. And we are in talks with a number of countries, as you will notice on this slide, for some international projects. This brings us to New Delhi. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will take you through this very quickly because I need not say that New Delhi is a great venue. We have had so many Commonwealth heads of government meetings. We have had Asiads. It has 1 lakh room capacity. When we talk of India, we talk of size, and there should not be any issue. Our national committee is fully power-packed. The petroleum minister is the chairman, and we were talking of security cover. Well, I don't see any issue there. The security cover is going to be of the best order, and as such, there are no threat perceptions either. Our national committee is balanced with public sector. As you are aware, 3 of our state-owned oil companies are in Fortune 500, and 1 of the private oil companies. So the national committee is very evenly poised. The logistics, we have all the hotels there, not only in Delhi, but in a number of cities of India. Our airport, local transport, there will be nothing to complain about. As I mentioned to you, those of us, especially accompanying persons, were interested in the culture, historicity. Delhi has been capital in these 7 names throughout the centuries. It has old history, museums. Well, when we talk of the world's largest green public transportation system, I'll dwell on it for a moment. Recently, we implemented in Delhi the compressed natural gas system for a public transport, and it was done in a record time, from the refinery to the distribution mechanism to the pipelines, everything. It's been, in fact, applauded all over the place. Pragati Maidan is our international exhibition center. It's a huge campus of world order. About 100,000 visitors visit during a fortnight that we have of the India International Trade Fair. To sum up, ladies and gentlemen, we feel that the last WPC in Asia was held in Beijing in 1997. I think after 11 years, we need to bring the WPC to Asia. And if it doesn't come this time, it goes to 2011. WPC's aims and objectives, as we were hearing, to reach out to the technology advancements to the developing countries. India, I think, is a very good case. South Asia is completely addressed when we come to India. We feel that it will be a great encouragement to India and to the developing world to forge relations between companies, countries. After this, I will take you through some slides and a small video on the sights and sounds of India. We call it the Incredible India. Light should.
Thank you very much to India from us all. There are a few key questions. I think we will have to accommodate those, as we will have to do with the other nations. Any questions to the National Committee of India? Apparently not. So then I thank you very much for your kind presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next presentation will be given by the National Committee of Qatar. I don't know who is going to do it, but hopefully we'll see somebody soon. Yes, there we are. Also, 25 minutes. Thank you very much. Sorry, is Mr. Salat of Qatar?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start this presentation, I would like to thank the WPC for giving us the opportunity to present our bid to host the 19th World Petroleum Congress in Doha in 2008. Qatar has allocated 25 minutes for its presentation. India had 25 minutes as well. Spain will also